God damn it. Yeah, no, this works. It works. Nobody's here. It's safer. Yeah, it works. There's no horde scum here trying to fuck with me. Hurry up and stealth, you. Actually, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, kill that thing. Or I don't know. Yeah, like, go in there and waste mana. Waste a lot of mana like that. Yeah.
Is depleted.
No, waste mana. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, let's go over there. Probably a lot like safer over here. Okay, so now I have. Oh, that one's depleted. Okay. Can I shadow meld in this form? No, I can't. But I can shadow meld in that form. That's cool. She'll drown slowly, but not right now. I love being a druid. It makes me so happy. I'm like down here at the bottom of the sea where no one will fuck with me. And I can just get air whenever I want. And so water creatures are my friend. They're like my druid friend, you know? Yeah, this guy, he's an underwater dick. He's probably a nightmare to everybody else. There's a horde. Relocator. He's a... I don't know, man. Hurry up and cast. Let's go, let's go. I'm gonna kill that guy. He's in my turf. I'll kill him. Okay, here we go. We're gonna push this guy. He's got a mob, and that's even stupider of him. I'm going to kill 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 you. Here it comes. Lots and lots of spells. You're fucked. Bye. Oh, here we go. Oh, and he's out. He's mine. Oh, and I got his mob too. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like a submarine. I'm like a fucking Boomkin submarine. It's like, it's the hunt for the Red October up in this bitch. Fucking mage. I really feel RP right now while I swim around as like, you know, I am the walrus. I'm a fat walrus. I'll give you my sweet walrus love as I stomp your mage ass in, bitch. Yeah, I'd never thought about fighting things at the bottom of the ocean, but it works. It's working for me. I actually really like it. Yeah. I mean, I guess I can do this, like, I can just, like, do this and then hot up, and then switch to cat, and then just own this thing. Yeah, like, I have hots on and stuff, like, just kill this thing. Yeah. Yeah, just kill this thing. God damn it, you take forever to get energy. There. And then I could just go, Shashan, I'm a druid. I'm a druid. I'm a druid, and I'm so good at druid, even though I've never played it before. No, I played it before. I played Druid before, actually. I had a Druid named Catty Corner. Battle bugged. Uh-oh. Oh no, I have 2 mobs? Oh, I do. I don't know. Yeah, go bear for a minute, but Hots first. Kill the battle bug. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good. Come on, heal, damn it. Yeah, you. Put the Hots up and go bear again. Yeah. I'm out of mana. What do I do? I have to kill this spine crawler or it's going to kill me. Come on, you. Hurry up, you. Yeah. Light bloom all on me. All light blooms. Come on, come on. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Come on, light bloom. Light bloom, there it is. Okay, more. And get up. The breath. The monopot. And heals. Heals. I don't want to do this trip back. It's so terrible. Yes, I'll kill this thing. Yes, kill this thing. Hurry up, you. Kill this thing. Die, you. Yes. Ah. Oh, no, I'm full. Look how many clams I have. I literally have 4, 8, 10, 14 clams. It's a clam slam. Like your shaman. I'll just use this scroll of strength because I don't care. God, I should hide because there's probably horde. But I have to open these things. Will that... Oh no, that does not pop me out of stealth. Yeah. Let me open these clams. Ah, get out of the water. I'm out of the water. I'm out of it. You're stupid. You're stupid. Look, my clam joke. My clam joke is so dumb. I can't believe I just cracked my clam joke the way I just did. It was so bad. It was so fucking bad. Fucking horrible. Oh, I have to go back to the stupid thing now. Okay, back to the stupid thing now. Okay, you have to sit now. Sit now. That did not sit well with sit well. Yeah, I gotta reward this tiger. Yeah, and then sit well. Sit for a while. Yeah, sit for a while. Yeah, until you're full. 294 HP is pretty good. Yeah. Hey, look, it's totally safe out here. It's awesome. You better run. $5 gold. The fuck do I need 5 gold for? 11 out of 20. Okay, are we full? No, I'm trying to go to the thing now. I want you to access that, yeah. I'm so smart. This is such a really good place to do this. I'm just so much better than everybody else. Just kidding. I think those guys just die like 25 times and bitch a lot. I'm over here like just getting my shit done, you know? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm good. I like the rain. It feels RP and good. I want to turn on some really good RP fucking music, like Blinded by the Light, right? Yeah, let's play Blinded by the Light. No, no, yeah, Final Fantasy 13. The fuck are you talking about? Blinded by the Light, motherfucker. Yes, you. No, wait. Yeah, you. There, you. Play that. Yes, you. Make it bigger. You, go. Go, you. Oh, God, it's loud. There we go. Blinded by the Light. Yeah. Fuck, I love this song. Wah, wah. Nagas, you crazy. You're not gonna win this. No, I don't like this song now. You're loud. Come on, play. No, this sucks. You're not good at this. I just want to do, the one I've been listening to. Yes, this is a really good fucking mix. This is such a good fucking mix, yes. Yes.
found it. Thank you, adventurer. The old city of Zoram holds many secrets, and this statuette may be the key to many of them. I fear the ancient statuette's secrets will remain forever hidden, unless you find the key to its ancient lock. That key is a ring of Zoram. It belonged to the rulers of this city before the waves of the sun began. For years, the ring was lost. The Naga have recently found it. Their leader, Buzul, dwells on an isle on the northern edge of Zoram. Please, adventurer, retrieve the ring for me.
The asteroid is depleted. asteroid is depleted. You cannot warp there because natural phenomena are disrupting the ship.
Haha.
You found the ring. Thank you, adventurer. Please take this as payment and know that today will
What's up, number
remain
two?
forever in my memory.
I fucked that guy over, I did. I fucked that guy over right good, I did. I fucked him over. I love Druid, it's so fun. It was a good night, got a lot done.
playing ESO nowadays is like the internet pre-ad blockers.
It's full of ads.
Want to rename your character? Click here to purchase a rename token. Want to change your race? Click here to purchase a token. There's a friggin' token for nearly every quality of life feature in this game. Want to stop dicking around with limited bag space? Purchase an odd number of crowns and buy your way around it. Want to create another character? Screw you, that bag space is only for one character. Hope you really like that Dragon Knight you created before you knew what the hell you were doing, chump. There's a million pop-ups for shit.
Oh my god.
And all of it's a friggin' scam.
That's so stupid.
It's like the 1990s internet, but without the charm of getting catfished in an HTML-based
There is a
chat room
plant that
by a
once grew in the
50-year-old
old
man
ruins of
posing as a
Bathron's
20-year-old
haunt to the
woman.
north.
This may
The
sound
plant
like an
was called
aside and everything,
Bathron's
but
hair,
it needs...
and was known to cure ailments of the spirit. There is a sick child in the village, and I believe it is more than just a physical illness. Will you go to Bathron's haunt and search it for Bathron's hair? I may need it to properly treat the child. Bathron's haunt lies north of Maestra's Post and just south of the border to Darkshore.
To be said. Since when did it become normal to have to pay for shit that makes the game tolerable? When did we sink this low? And why
Long
do people
ago,
defend this
2014,
shit every
2014.
chance they get? As if
Yeah, every game 2014, that was their new business model.
Max or some scrappy underground developer just trying to keep the lights on. Jump off their dick, Chaz. You're gonna have trouble keeping a poop inside you if you keep riding ZeniMax that hard. The anus is only so elastic, and yours is worn down like the waistband of a pair of underwear that won't stay up. People have been asking me for a while to review this game, and I honestly didn't want to do it because really, I actually play this game a lot, and I like it a lot, but I see a lot of problems that this game has, and I knew that if I did a video, I would be talking shit for a long time, probably most of the video, and it would give people the wrong impression of how I feel about it. I liked it enough to max out 2 characters on 2 different platforms, but if you were to ask me what that experience was like, I couldn't really tell you about the specifics like the game's story and stuff like that. The game moves at a breakneck pace, so the specifics of the game are constantly flying past your face. And with every DLC that they release, a new mechanic gets released with it. So it makes it difficult to keep up with the game if you're not keeping up with the DLCs. I think that I, like many fans of the series, have been spoiled by the previous games. And this one just seems like a pale imitation, a cracked mirror, a half-erased tracing, a charcoal rubbing, an unfinished blowjob. This game started off having lost the identity of the games that came before it and inspired it, but has slowly, over the years, come to adopt the things that both made the Elder Scrolls series great and what also holds it back in many ways. For instance, ESO started...
I've never understood how a warlock pet doesn't disappear when you kill its master. Wouldn't you think that would be basic fucking logic? And then its pet aggroes some other pet, and then some other warlock. And so then I'm just like I'm a target of all the casters, and this is why I don't want to play hardcore.
Typical MMO, in that zones had a level associated with the mobs that spawned there, meaning that if you were level 10 in a level 20 area, you were going to get your ass handed to you. The grind was long, the grind was stupid, and people coming from other Bethesda games wanted to be able to explore anywhere, anytime they wanted, you know, like every Elder Scrolls game that had been previously released. So now, no matter your level, every enemy is the same challenge, which is to say, not really a challenge at all. This type of dynamic scaling is impressive for an online game, and it's a feature that is adopted from the level scaling of games like Oblivion, which is widely criticized for making the player feel like they're never getting stronger, which is, you know, kind of the whole point of level progression in an RPG. To make the player feel like they're getting stronger and able to take on new and escalating challenges. But in ESO, that scaling is taken to the extreme, where nothing feels like a challenge and nothing feels like a cakewalk. It's neutral. There's no peaks and valleys. It's just all valleys. It calls into question why the hell the game even has levels in the first place, aside from giving the player some artificial goalpost to chase. Just like Skyrim, there's only 3 stats: health, magicka, and stamina, and a bunch of derived stats that mostly go up depending on gear, and some of them go up per level automatically. So effectively, you only have 2 choices every level. What attribute do I level, and what skill do I level? The combat isn't challenging, and you don't need to min-max to be effective in combat. There's no wrong answers, which is great when it comes to player choice, but even the previous ES games had restrictions like major and minor skills in Morrowind. Restrictions are what inspire player creativity. There's not a whole lot of restricting going on in this game, and therefore, not a whole lot of creativity to be had. I don't have much to say about the level scaling because it doesn't innovate. It was necessary to evoke an Elder Scrolls feeling, but it doesn't add to the experience aside for allowing the freedom
I wouldn't
to
say
go
so,
anywhere.
no.
But it also takes away a lot in terms of power progression and levels actually meaning something aside from number.
Yeah,
go
this
up.
game was
The game shipped
genuinely
without any
boring, and I think about it all the time. I'm like, what's so boring about it? Because it had a whole system there, but everything was one and the same. It was the same old combat from day one. It wasn't good like New World. Honestly, I'd rather spend 1,000 hours in New World than ESO. You know, because the combat wasn't good. It wasn't really good. It was really bad.
full thievery system. A couple of years after its release, we got a theft system similar to games like Oblivion, where you could steal shit, but you can't sell shit unless it's to a fence. And what you do...
No, it was always like that since day one. You could always steal since day one. That was not added later. That's always been like that. There is a horde, which isn't good. You sicked your pet on me, huh? Nice. Okay, you want to fight, huh? All right. I'll give you a fight, bitch. You want to be like that? Come on, man. I did not attack you or dot you or anything at all. But now I'm gonna fight with you over and over.
Is not really up to your skill. It's determined by RNG. And you don't get to steal anything really valuable, because if you did get to steal whatever you wanted, it would ruin the intended grind for gear that ZeniMax seems so fond of here. You can't steal an awesome endgame sword like you could in Morrowind, because the game wants you to grind to be able to craft it, or grind out a dungeon where it drops for however many hours it takes to kill 1,000 of the same goddamn mob. Then put all of this together and package it with a daily limit on the amount of shit you can sell to a fence, and you'll begin to ask yourself, why the fuck is this feature in the game at all? The whole point of stealing becomes narrowed until it's no longer utilitarian and instead just becomes simple economics. How much money can I grind out, and how quickly can I grind it out? And are there other methods of grinding that are more efficient, and if so, why am I even doing this? Again, this makes the choice to steal more meaningless than it makes it meaningful by boiling the choice down to a small set of factors. It becomes a cost-benefit analysis as opposed to a creative way to solve a problem. It gives you something, and it takes away something else. This is a pattern with ESO, and it results in a very middle-of-the-road experience. It's neither challenging or easy. It's neither great or bad. It's aggressively okay. It has a lot of great ideas that are poorly implemented and overly balanced to the point of being boring. It makes the act of analyzing the game difficult because nothing stands out the way it would in a game that is just bad or a game that is really good. So to do this video, I started a new character. I named him Wally Paulnuts because the choice of naming my character isn't really up to me. It's up to whether or not some other asshole stole my name already. Then it came time to create my character. Now there's a lot of sliders in the character creation screen, and that looks like, at a glance, like it's gonna have a lot of options. But upon closer examination, it really isn't that way. You have a triangle slider that smooths out or sharpens the features of your face, and a bunch of sliders for the size of specific parts of your face. Now that sounds cool, but for features like the nose, chin, and eyes, the slider doesn't really allow you to change those features significantly enough to veer away from looking like the default character model. I wanted to create a Dunmer version of Paulie Walnuts, but Paulie had a wide and bulbous nose, and unfortunately the character creator doesn't allow you to make the nose bigger to the point where it looks significantly different from the default nose, and the same thing goes for the eyes and the chin. You can't really create a character that looks different than every other Dunmer that's going to be running around the game world, which makes you not feel all that unique from the other players in the game. And again, this limits player creativity. Then it came time to pick my class, and normally I would pick a mage. I love mages in Elder Scrolls games because you're able to make your own spells from a list of spell effects. But then I remembered, your spells are not something dynamic like in the other games where you purchase a spell from a vendor and it does something crazy like make you jump higher, or levitate, or throw a fireball that explodes in both fire, ice, and lightning AoE damage. No. In ESO, you purchase your skills with skill points awarded to you for finding certain items in the environment, finishing certain tasks, or every time you level up. So there are a set small amount of spells you can purchase from, and those spells are the same for every player playing that class or using that weapon type. So instead of a mage being this really creative experience where everyone is using some permutation of a spell that is different from one another, basically, everyone is using the same shit, especially when you get to the end game. It's another way in which this game takes away creativity to adhere slavishly to an MMO design trope. It sounds like I'm overly criticizing the game for being an MMO, but this game does actually do some interesting things that are unique to this game alone, but that design creativity does not carry over to the more traditional aspects of MMO design. So I pick a melee class because I'm a very basic bitch in that way. If spells don't interest me, then I'd much rather bonk people on the head with a heavy object. I picked a Dragon Knight because I had already leveled a Templar, and to be honest, I didn't really give the idea much thought because classes don't really matter all that much. Okay, I guess that's not really true. Your class matters insofar as it determines what class specific trees you get access to. So if I wanted to be a stealthy character, I'd go with the Nightblade because they get access to stealthy shit in their class tree. But all classes can sneak and be viable thieves. The reason I say that classes don't matter is not because that's really a true statement. They do matter. Dragon Knights are better tanks, for example, than a sorcerer because their kit is outfitted with skills that help them do the job a little bit better. But a sorcerer could wear heavy armor and tank if they really wanted to because every class can self-heal, every class can do damage, and every class can do support. It's just a matter of degrees, really. Some classes do a better job of certain roles than others do. There's a lot that I like about this system, and then there's things I hate about it. For instance, I love that class doesn't matter as much because every class can do everything. That means there's much less emphasis when doing a dungeon on certain group compositions, at least in the regular dungeons. Not to mention you don't get locked into a specific role just because you pick the specific class. Like, it's more open that way, and I kind of like that. It gives you a lot more freedom when you pick a class and halfway through leveling that class, you're like, you know what, I really don't like this role that I'm locked into. I wish I could make it into a different role, and this system really allows you to do that midstream, and that's pretty nice. We'll talk more about veteran dungeons later. It seems like in this system, people bitch a lot less about your build not being optimized than they do in a game where that kind of thing is really important. I also love the fact that there is a degree of freedom in the design of your character, and that kind of freedom leads to creativity, which I'm a fan of, as I said before. It may sound like I'm contradicting myself. What I mean is, the way you mix and match those skills is where you can get creative. And that's the difference between this and a mainline Elder Scrolls game. On the other hand, I hate it, because there's no point, for instance, in being a healer, which is usually my favorite class to play. In fact, there's not a whole lot of point in specializing in anything unless you're doing some hardcore dungeons or PvP. In the over 300 hours that I put into this game on both console and PC, build optimization has never come up like it does in a game like WoW, for instance. In that game, I spent countless hours grinding for the right gear so I could do dungeons more effectively, and I felt rewarded for doing so, because if you don't do that, some of these dungeons at higher levels just aren't possible for you. Dungeons in ESO, at least on normal difficulty, aren't really like that. And I guess that's a good thing, because it includes more players into the activity than it would otherwise. But on the other hand, it doesn't feel like an accomplishment when you beat a dungeon, because anyone with any party composition could have beaten that dungeon. You're not special. So if you, for instance, get a bad healer on your team, your DPS can still just spam his own AoE heal and do the same thing that your healer's doing and probably do it better. It's like, I'm conflicted about it, because on one hand, it's better, obviously, because anybody can heal, which means if you get a lame healer, you're good to go. But on the other hand, you know, as a healer, you don't really get the recognition that you would get in another game for doing good heals, because, like I said, everyone can heal. So it sort of waters down the importance of certain class roles. After character creation, you're taken to a jail cell. Just like every Elder Scrolls game that came before it, you're a prisoner of some sort, thrust into the middle of an ongoing conflict. Here, we're met by an Alldayerrydaybaby woman, and I just want to say something about how the characters look in this game as compared to previous titles. Every single female in this game, regardless of race,
Ugly.
is totally fuckable. Altmer legitimately used to look like aliens. Like, they were seriously otherworldly in Skyrim and Morrowind, but here, well, they all just kind of look like all the other races. Same with the men. They made all the races look like supermodels for some reason, and I honestly don't know why you would forego the unique look that they had for this arguably less unique version in this game.
There you are. On your feet. I know magical translocation can really upset the stomach. Just take a moment and get your bearings, all right?
We're greeted by the Alldayerrydaybaby and told that we've been teleported to the Isle of Belfiera, sorry. What was her reason for doing this, you ask? Well, apparently she didn't do it. A portal teleported you and a Daedra named Shayazel here, and while you were asleep, Norianwe put you in the prison cell just in case you woke up and started trying to kill everybody. She immediately trusts you once she realizes you're not foaming at the mouth and lets you out of the cell. And what happens next is a bunch of tutorials that teach you about the ins and outs of combat, stealth, and so on, and it's all over very quickly because you gotta hurry up and get to the next thing. And the whole way through this conveniently set up series of events, Norianwe is trying to impress upon you just how dangerous what you are about the face is.
I'm afraid we've reached the really scary bit. The Daedric creature responsible for all these portals waits just beyond that gate.
She builds up this mystique around the Daedra that we're about to fight, and she tells us the entire way that the Daedra is dangerous, and how afraid she is for what comes next, and when you finally get to the Daedra, this is what the fight ends up being like. lost any health, barely needed to use tactics, just spam one skill until the enemy falls down. And this is an example of what the combat for about 99% of the single player experience is going to feel like. Run up to the enemy, spam your skill until the enemy falls over dead, rinse and repeat about 100,000 times until you're max level or until you give up out of boredom. And this is what the game does a lot of. It builds up some event or some creature that you're about to fight, and it builds them up like they're the bringer of the fucking apocalypse, only for you to defeat them in less than 15 seconds using only one ability. Once you defeat the snake bitch, you're led to a library with a bunch of portals leading to different parts of the continent. You're supposed to pick the place you want to start out in, and depending on your starting location, you'll be given a quest line. You don't know when you first start the game which quest line you need to do, and you especially don't know which town or region you want to explore first, so you'll likely pick one at random and hope for the best. I picked Stros Mackay because it sounded cool, and then I never saw this chick again, and all the stuff that we did together meant nothing. Like a one-night stand, but without a climax. I left this mission disappointed. After entering the portal, I was treated to a cutscene with several different voices narrating different parts of a story.
We submit to your will and call forth the chains of cold.
They're performing a ritual, preparing the way for a dark anchor.
Opening rift to oblivion.
It's worse than we thought. The flame melt has begun.
The portals reach from our side to theirs. That means there's a traitor.
Perhaps it was simply arrogance. Perhaps it was all part of his grand scheme. Who can know the logic of a daedric prince?
The cutscene reminds me of Oblivion because, well, it's kind of the same plot, is it not? And on top of being derivative, it's also weighed down by multiple storylines that are going on in the background of all this, all of them competing for your attention, and none of them really rising to the occasion. But we'll get more into that later. When I emerged from the portal, I was in a port town, in what appeared to be a desert, and by following the marker for the closest main quest, I was led to this lady.
Look what the sea spat out, Lambor. Might be just what we need. You interested in some easy money?
Sure, I guess. I mean, a stranger comes up to me and asks me if I want to make some easy money. I usually say yes. I mean, I always regret my decision afterwards, but you know, $20 is $20.
I have a heist planned, a big one. Anyone who helps is going to be rich. But I need people who aren't local, who aren't in the pocket of Headman Bosek.
For all you know, I could be an agent of Bosek, freshly hired right off the boat. I mean, you always proposition strangers with crimes you're about to commit. So I say yes because, well, I got no job, I got no money, I got nothing else going on, so like the lower rungs of society, it looks like it's time to do some crime. In order to do crime, however, we need to free some people from various forms of captivity. Aside from Naramo, who is just exploring some ancient Dwemer ruins, the others are being held captive in other parts of the level, and each of these missions has multiple phases. For instance, it's not enough that you rescue Jakarn from prison, he also wants you to help him get some shit he stored in a cave inhabited by goblins. But to even get to Jakarn, you have to engage this game's main loop. Normally, this loop would be explore, kill, loot, craft, and repeat. That's how the modern Bethesda games go. But this game wasn't made by Bethesda, it was made by ZeniMax. So while it does do that same main loop, it handles it in a special way. Let's start with exploration. You enter a dungeon, you go in a straight line, occasionally turning right down a hallway, then right down another hallway, then right again, until you either come to the end of the dungeon, then fight a boss, or pick up the item that you're there to retrieve, or you loop right back around to the beginning of the dungeon and exit it. Or, as is the case with some dungeons, you go in a straight line to the end of the dungeon, and then in a straight line back to the entrance. The dungeons don't really allow, for the most part, any form of meaningful exploration. Some rise from being a simple square or a simple hallway to being multiple squares connected by hallways. It's mostly just a series of left or right turns that loop in on itself, and only occasionally will there be a path to a dead end where a treasure chest will be, much like the dungeon design of a game like Final Fantasy II or 4, depending on what country you pretend
Very
to
good.
be from. Some of the dungeons become a little more complicated in the DLCs, but the vanilla content of this game seems to have been shitted out as quickly as possible in order to have a glut of content to satiate the ever-hungry content madness of MMO players. So that exploration loop, at least in dungeons, is right out the window. The only real exploration you do is overworld exploration, and sometimes that can be rewarding. You're looking for different waypoints, crafting materials, delves, which are this game's form of single-player dungeons, or sky shards, which give you skill points to spend, but for the most part, you aren't exploring to find cool shit. You're exploring to gain EXP, because the loot in this game ain't for shit, and the dungeon delving ain't for shit for reasons I went into before. So, exploration can be fun, but you can't approach it from the aspect of exploring leading to a reward. The reward is the exploration. Loot. Loot is all RNG, and the RNG is skewed heavily in favor of junk. There's a ton of useless junk in this game. Okay, well, not all of it's useless. Most of it is crafting supplies, and the thing about crafting supplies is that you're gonna get 1,000,000 of them, and they all take up space in what is a woefully limited inventory system. Your character gets 60 slots, and your bank account gets 60 as well. You can upgrade this space at a bag vendor, and the prices start out cheap, but the more space you buy, the more gold it costs. And all of that would be fine, honestly, because the game should have progression and bag space just like any MMO does. Progression can be fun. It's why most of us play RPGs. But here's the thing. The crafting materials will end up taking up most, if not all, of your bag space, no matter how much space you buy. And if you don't want it to do that by, say, having a materials bag, like just about any single player RPG, and for that matter, other MMO RPGs might, you can do that, but you have to pay for ESO Plus, the monthly subscription service, and suddenly, you never have to worry about bag space ever again. So like I said earlier, this game charges you for simple quality of life improvements every chance it gets. So the game has all these design decisions, which are stupid, time-consuming, and annoying for the player to deal with, and in order to get around those deficiencies, you have to pay your way around them. So in a way, the developers are encouraged to make their game worse to play in order to encourage you to spend money. It's an inverse law of single-player games. We buy single-player games because they're fun to play and not full of bullshit time wasters, and we give multiplayer games more money to make the experience less shitty. Maybe something is wrong with the way MMO games are designed. So what ends up happening is the game discourages you from looting most things because clearing out your inventory is a time-consuming process. Also, which I think is also by design, because, well, every roadblock that the designer puts in your way encourages you to spend money to get around it. These systems aren't designed for fun, and that's the main problem I have with them. I will say one thing, the quests in this game are actually pretty good. They're not terrible. Although the writing, I don't know. I can't remember a single thing that happens in this game, and I've played through the entire thing, like, twice already, so I couldn't recall a single plot point to you.
And there you
aside
go.
from the goblins all having the MMO symptom of standing waiting for the main character to come and fight them. ESO is based off of a game series that has a lot of unique things going for it. From the way that you level up your character by using the skills, to the uniqueness of the races, even though they are technically based on pre-existing races that are in other games and media, they always felt unique. The Elder Scrolls games, at least early on, are games that tried to do something new with each release. But the Elder Scrolls Online does the exact opposite of that. It follows MMO design in a lot of places down to the smallest detail. And when it doesn't, it veers off into directions that I absolutely love and I absolutely fucking hate. For instance, enemies in dungeons are numerous and static, just like every other MMO I have ever played. And I've played a lot of them. The mobs are not living lives in ESO. They are simply there for the player to run in and wail on a few times with their stat stick and gain some EXP. Your primary motivation for being in a dungeon is to gain EXP, because it's not for the loot, as I previously explained. You are there to gain EXP through combat or through completing missions. The only time you go into a dungeon to get loot is when you're grinding out something that has a low percentage chance of dropping off a specific mob. And I don't think I've ever heard someone say, or ever heard myself say, God, I'm having so much fun killing hundreds of the same enemy over and over again, hoping that one item will drop on their corpse. So now we gotta talk about the combat. This also follows pretty slavishly to the MMO design tropes I was talking about. An MMO needs to be attractive for a large number of people in order to be successful, because MMOs are expensive to not only make, but to maintain and update through the years that the service is available. So, it would be reasonable to assume that if you want to appeal to the widest audience possible, your game needs to be accessible to the widest audience possible. So your content can't be like, I don't know, I'll pull a game out my ass, Elden Ring, right?
Finally.
You can't have Elden Ring style difficulty, or else you'll be pulling in Elden Ring numbers. At least that's what the consensus seems to be in the MMO community. But as we've seen with Elden Ring, you can be a difficult game and still sell a lot of copies. But that's the thing. MMOs aren't about copies sold. They're about keeping the players engaged with the content as long as possible to suck as much money out of their wallets as possible. And the thing is, many people quit playing games like Elden Ring once they run into a roadblock they can't overcome. That is a death knell for an online service game. So, given all this ranting, you might have already come to the conclusion that I'm about to say that ESO's combat is woefully lacking in a challenge department, and to that, I would respond with a ding ding, winner winner chicken dinner. 95% of the combat encounters in this game end within seconds of starting the fight, if you're a DPS character, which means that you can basically turn your brain off for most of the encounters and never be at risk of dying, because the enemies, and I bullshit you not, the enemies die before they can even swing their weapon once.
Let's see
no
what's trapped
bullshit.
inside, shall we?
Once you fill up your
Ilkrug
hotbar with skills
Magthrul.
and get to about
Yes,
level
I have
16,
knowledge of him.
the enemies
He
drop
is a
like
powerful
flies.
orc warlock that makes his residence at the Fire Scar Shrine, a place of great evil in southwestern Ashenvale. He had been little more than an annoyance until now, and I had not dealt with him, but it seems that his time has come.
Then there's the enemies that have these adornments on their health bars. These guys are like elite mobs, and the more adornments they have on their health bar, the harder they are to kill. But as you can see from the footage I just played you, even at a low level, with only 2 skills to my name, this guy wasn't even a threat. I said before that MMO design is flawed, and this is what I mean by that. Because this is a sort of trope in MMOs at this point, and you might be thinking to yourself that this doesn't matter all that much. After all, if all the enemies were all challenging, imagine having to kill over 100,000 of them in the course of leveling a character. That would make the grind nearly intolerable, right? Especially if the enemies took a long time to kill, or if the player keeps dying in the course of killing mobs. And sure, if that's what I meant by making it difficult, I would agree with you, but there are many ways to make combat more challenging, and not all of those ways boil down to the enemy having more health or doing more damage. You actually see that kind of difficulty I'm talking about in some of the boss encounters in the dungeons, especially on vet difficulty. This game has a pretty interesting combat system for an MMO, that is. It has real-time combat just like in Skyrim, in that you hit a button and swing your sword, and if the sword makes contact with the enemy, you do damage. That's pretty unique as far as MMOs are concerned, especially in a genre that gets a lot of inspiration from old isometric real-time with pause combat systems. The fact that the combat is in real time and somewhat based on skill is what makes the combat fun to engage with, and is the reason, quite frankly, that I've put so many hours into the game as I have. The thing is, the game does nearly nothing with all that potential for at least 95% of the game's combat encounters, at least in the main story, and almost every side quest that isn't a dungeon. Your success or failure, most of the time, isn't dependent on hitting the block button at the right time or dodging out of the way of an attack, even though those mechanics exist in the game. Instead, most combat is over quicker depending on how quickly you can spam your most damaging ability. My problem, I guess, is not that the game is too
Very
easy,
well done,
because if you
adventurer.
want more
Your
difficult
actions in
combat,
Mizoram
you can do
Strand
veteran
against
dungeons.
the Naga are
If you
commendable.
spend
I know your feat was not easily accomplished, for the strength and guile of the Naga is well known to the Night Elves. We know this, for we share a history with them. It is a history I care not to repeat. We are not in open war with the Horde, but our peace is
Yes,
fragile.
we are.
We often find their agents moving against us, but they do so covertly. One such advance was revealed to us from hidden sources in Theramore, claiming that the orcs collect venom from the Pride Wings near Merkfallen Lake, in the Stone Talon Mountains to the south. Orc assassins then use the venom on their secret death raids against the Alliance. If this is true, then we must stop them, adventurer. We must deny them their source of venom. This is terrible, adventurer. Tyronis is dead. The time for mourning will come, but for now we must focus our efforts. I shall send some of the sentinels to recover Tyronis' body as soon as possible. You have Tyronis' journal and the gem he was seeking. Do you think you're capable of completing his task? I would rest much better knowing his death was not in vain. You'll have to do the research yourself, but from what notes Tyronis has made, it sounds like your next course of action is to find the other pieces of the rod Dartal created. I would start by heading to the Moonwell east of Iris Lake. When you're ready, follow the road and turn north when you reach a small sitting area on your left. A dryad there named Sheldrin is better suited to guide you. Seek her out. Keep the gem with you. Sheldrin will need it if she's to help you recreate the rod. Before you travel to the Moonwell, I have another task that will aid the people of Ashenvale if you would like to test your skills. Along the road heading east before the Falfarin River, Furbolgs have been attacking travelers, their tortured minds feeding upon fear, and their appetites satiated by the blood of innocents. Aid the sentinels in protecting the lands by showing those monsters the same mercy they have shown our kind. I believe their camps are south of the road. Be careful.
Ooh, look at all that money. Oh yeah. 6 gold. 6 gold. God damn. I'm gonna go sell. A shame.
To maintain our link to the mainland, we have hippogriffs constantly flying between Rutheran village and Darkshire.
Hours grinding out the gear, that is.
BRB
My
bio.
problem is the wasted potential of the combat. Forever, I have wanted to play an MMO that had real-time melee combat, and here I have it, in all its glory. And it is fun, but it isn't challenging, so therefore, it's not as fun as it could be. Remember when I said this game is all valleys and no peaks? This is what I meant by that. Builds in this game are interesting. See, in single player, just about any build you come up with will work, and in regular dungeons as well. If you could do some form of damage, you'll be able to coast through the content pretty easily. But if you want to do the real endgame content, the veteran dungeons, your build has to be very specific, and I mean super specific in a way that I honestly don't know how you could build an effective character without an encyclopedic knowledge of all the skills and gear in the game. I, in my infinite wisdom, decided that I wanted to play as a tank. Why a tank? Because I like to be in the shit whacking people with my big stick, and because tanks are always immediate pick for all dungeons. While DPS, the arguably funner way to play the game, takes upwards of 5 to 10 minutes to get into a dungeon with. So I made a decision. Because I wanted to play the veteran dungeons with my maxed out character and grind out the best gear and all that endgame stuff, I made a decision to respec into a tank role. So I went out, looked up a good tank build online, and respec my character to the specifications laid out in the build, which was quite a doozy because I needed skills from skill lines I didn't even know existed, like Assault and Undaunted, and I needed to be carrying around a destruction staff and level it up. A tank with a destruction staff. Not exactly intuitive. So I went out, grinding out all the necessary EXP to get the skills I needed to make the build work, and once I finally got the build together and I went out to do some, get this, solo content, I found that not only was the build kind of shit at solo content, but it took forever to kill shit because these builds are optimized for dungeons and group content and not even close to useful in solo content. And I'm not the only one who thinks this. The general consensus in the community seems to be that in order to have a useful character in both solo and group, you need an armory. An armory is a quality of life feature that is locked behind, you guessed it, a laborious grind. What it does is allow you to create and build and store a second build and switch between the two at will. So while other games are out there giving away this shit for free like chumps, ESO is out there profiting off of quality of life features. First thing you need in order to get an armory is a house. The cheapest house in the game is 40,000 gold. There is a free house, but it is locked behind DLC, and there are other houses you can get for free through quests, but their space is pretty limited. I was level 50 with a level 90 champion before I even had 30,000 gold, and I spent all that money on upgrades in my bag space, so no house for me, which means no armory, which means I respec my character for no reason, and I was going to have to grind to respec back into DPS so that the single player content would once again be tolerable. So while the game does have great combat, which I really like, and engaging combat and harder levels of difficulty, greed gets in the way of a lot of my enjoyment and keeps me from playing the game the way I want to. And yes, I know you can grind out all this stuff and you don't have to buy it, I get it, yes, but the game heavily encourages all but people who have infinite amounts of time to indulge this fucking game while encouraging those with less time to, you know, buy some crowns and skip the grind. And speaking of grind, let's talk about the real grind in this game. Now we come to the final part of the loot, and that's crafting. And this game has a pretty extensive crafting system, but this is a really big friggin' but. This game uses one of the most shitty mechanics to open up new crafting recipes that I have ever seen, and that's the research mechanic. See, to figure out how to build gear with simple magical abilities on it, you have to research them. You do this by sacrificing an item that has a magical ability you want on it, and after the research timer finishes, bam, you have now unlocked the ability to make that piece of gear. But first,
The
you need to
asteroid
hope
is
that
depleted.
item with the trait drops at some point, and that, frankly, can take a while. And the problem with this is compounded with the fact that your bag space is severely limited. You end up having to carry these items around with you until your research opens up, or store them in your bank, which, again, will likely drive you nuts or drive you to pay for more slots. Each piece of armor and each weapon type has a set of magical traits that can be researched, and you have to research the trait you want on each piece of armor to start crafting full sets of magical armor or weapons. The first trait for a single piece of armor that you research takes six whole real-world hours to finish. And there's over 9 traits per piece of armor, and over 120 styles of each armor piece to unlock. If it was just 6 hours to research each piece of armor and each trait, it would take you 432 hours to research everything you need to fully research every piece of armor and all of its styles. At least it would be if the research time didn't fucking double each time you research a trait in a given line. So that means to research all of the traits for a single piece of armor, it will take you, hold on to your fucking nuts, 128 days. Okay? Do you understand why I'm complaining about this? That's 128 days to research one piece of armor, all 9 traits. It would take you over 1,000 days to research every trait on every piece of armor, which means most, if not all of the player base would take several years to become a master blacksmith without spending money. And that's not even including the weapons and light and medium armor. That's just the heavy armor line. It's meant to keep you grinding forever. Now, there are skills that you can unlock to reduce the amount of time it takes to research stuff, as well as allows you to research more than one piece at a time. But that's only slightly better. You still have to wait several days, real, actual days of your life, for something as simple as unlocking a recipe. Now, wouldn't it be really bad if there was, say, an item that you could buy with real money that sped up or made the research times complete immediately? That would be really scummy if they did some shit like that, right? Well, yeah, of course they did that. You can go into the Crown Store and buy a scroll that will make the research for all current items being researched complete instantly. But here's the really fucked up thing. You can't buy them directly. You can only buy them by buying crown crates. Someone did the math on this and determined it would cost you $2,000 of real goddamn money to research one line. One line! So there's no reasonable way to skip that grind. So people don't really strive to be master crafters. Well, I mean, I don't, but I know a few people who are trying to, but you can't reasonably do that in a game that makes you wait 32 days to research a single trait. Now, would you believe me if I told you that people defend this practice? Just look down in the comments of this video. There's bound to be at least someone down there defending this shit. So I have to ask you, did having to wait 128 days to research one item make you feel like you had a richer experience playing the game? If not, then why defend this shit if it actively makes the experience worse? Then there are the people who will say, you only need to research the trait that you want on your armor, and that only takes 6 hours. Well, to that I gotta say, what about writs? What about having multiple builds for different activities? What if your goal in the game is to be a master crafter? Shouldn't you be allowed to achieve that goal without having to play the game for more hours than the game will actually exist for? Now, I could deal with one of these steps in the gameplay loop being a little weird, but all four? Holy shit, no! Then we come to styles. Styles and motifs are what differentiate the look of each style of armor. You can only craft your racial style at first, and you have to learn the other styles from books that very rarely drop. I mean, I have been playing this game for a couple of years now, and I've only found one. So how do you learn basic styles? Wouldn't it be shitty if I told you that you could buy that? Yes, of course you can buy them. And the basic styles are fairly cheap. Fairly, he says, without actually checking the conversion rate. Hang on a minute. Okay, I take that back. This shit is ridiculous. It costs you $5 to unlock the styles for one faction. That sounds like a good deal, but I haven't told you what the unique styles, you know, the ones you actually want, I haven't told you what those fuckers cost. Hang on to your nuts. They cost $40! 40 goddamn dollars for one style! 5,000 crowns for unlocking one of the 124 available. And like Fortnite, not all of these skins are available all the time. You ever wonder why that is? Like, wouldn't it make more sense to have all of your skins on sale all of the time? No. Oddly enough, you drive more sales more quickly when you only have the skins available on special events because of the fear of missing out, FOMO. If I don't get these skins right now, who knows when I'll be able to get them again, if ever. You might get them as drops in certain dungeons, maybe, but if you're looking to have a different look to your armor than the basic shit you start with, that journey is long, time-consuming, and completely up to RNG.
That's MMORPGs. I want to laugh at all of this, but I can't. This is what my life is. This is what they wanted my life to be. This is what they built. This is who they are. I don't know why they're like this. They're just like this. I don't know why they're like this. I don't know why their storage is so goddamn stupid. I don't know. Their storage is so stupid.
Quite a lot of money.
They'll smile at you and tell you how smart they are, and then they'll tell you about how you pull in about 600 pounds every 10 minutes, but you only have a 220 pound limit max in Fallout 76. So what do you do with the other 400 pounds of loot that's coming in every 10 minutes?
And I may not be right, but I think that this might be the most expensive that I have ever seen.
Yeah, I think so. It is.
What amounts to a skin cost in a live service game. Granted, you get technically 3 skins. 1 light, 1 medium, 1 heavy armor version, but still $40? Are you out of your goddamn mind?
No. Fortnite's worse.
I don't want it to sound like there's no other way to unlock these things.
Fortnite will release like a fucking $25 set with 5 or 6 different variations at $25 a piece, and you're like, oh my god, it would be $150 to buy out the entire set and seem like everybody else, like you have enough. And this is what twisted our kids. This is why they talk about Fortnite skins and people's parents and people's wallets and their grandma's credit card and stuff. Yeah, because, yeah, like, this is what they wanted the world to be.
Finding a motif book or anything.
It's
That's
unfortunate.
only for crafting. Like, if you want to craft something other than the stuff that you start out with, you've got to find the books. But you can actually apply...
You know, my character is like 5 years old, and I have some reasonable amount of this, and I think he's neglected a side of this argument, which is that if you play the game and you're loyal to the game and you blow like 1,500 to 2,000 hours of your life on the game, you'll do well. You'll get a bunch of this list. You'll have a bunch of this. See, he does. He has a bunch of it. See it? He has a bunch of this list. He has a bunch of it. It's a big, long list, but he's got like a third of it because he does play. He plays a lot. And actually, I think that sort of comes down to the designer. If they want to, you know, if they want to slowly open up all these fucking skins and all this, like, you know, this vanity for you at their rate, and then eventually, you know, after 5 years you have this much, I think that's their business, honestly. If they want to release it at that rate, that's their rate.
the styles after you've unlocked them by...
Would you prefer it was faster where it didn't mean anything? Because most skins are based around jealousy. I hate to say it, but I hate skins because they're like literally the visual version of the human emotion of jealousy.
Finding the gear, laying about on the...
And I don't do jealousy. I like, honestly, the greatest asset and thing I chased the most in my entire life was freely given to someone else. And I was like, I don't do jealousy. I don't, like, you know, I just don't even, you know, I don't do jealousy. I'm not there for that. That's okay. That's their lives. That's the way they want to be. That's okay. Am I dead? I'm dead. Thank you. I don't know why I'm dead. Why am I dead? Did I get a link or something? No, I didn't really need a res, but I'll take it, you know. Thank you. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know what could have even killed me. But okay. You killed me. Grats game, you killed me somehow. Yep, we go east and do that one. We got 3 bars until I'm done with the expansion. And I like this character. I'm gonna spec switch. I'm gonna change specs here. Actually, I believe I can do that now, and I can fly back here now if I wanted to. But I would prefer to ding first, and then I'll do it. Yeah, I would say. It's funny because this is like mind-blowing to this kid, but that's what fucking 25 years of MMORPGs have been for me. Like, he gets so many hits.
And then disassembling
he
them
gets
at a
60
bench or selling them.
He gets 60,000 hits for stating the obvious.
I think also unlocks them. So you can do that, and there's a really nice system too where if you go into the style page on your character and hover over one specific style, it'll tell you where that style actually drops. That's really helpful, and I really like that system. What I don't like is how predatory this skin system is in this game. Okay, all right.
It is. It's really bad. It is.
So now that we looked at the loop and how it seems to fumble the bag at every step in the loop, and worse yet, fumble the bag on purpose, how does this game handle the thing that will probably matter to most people who are coming from the mainline Elder Scrolls game? The quests and the storyline. Well, let's look at that, shall we?
Worthless.
So after I emerge from the tutorial, a stranger trusts me with a heist, and that heist turns into a quest to save and recruit an entire orc town for the war effort. Now, you start off one way, end up another way. When one storyline or quest ends, you end up into a completely different storyline that has nothing really to do with the previous storyline, even if the continuation of that storyline has the same characters from the previous storyline. It's as if the previous events never happened or don't have any impact on the events that are about to happen. These quests are like the Keurig cups of the storytelling environment, you know what I mean? They're single use, and once you're done with them, you throw them away and never think about them again. It is the prime example of the and-then storytelling. Like, right, there's two different types of storytelling, as far as I'm concerned. There's the type of storytelling that has no logical reason for why one plot thread leads into another, and there's another type of storytelling where there's a logical reason why each event in a storyline happens. It's the and-then type of storytelling that is the former, and the latter is the because this happened type of storytelling. And this game definitely leans really heavily on the and then type of storytelling. So after this, I'm taken to a new town, and the first mission I get is to meet a guy in a place, and don't ask why, you should just be honored to receive the opportunity. So I head over to the waypoint marker and find that there is indeed a guy there, but he's been bound and gagged. And then I get hit over the head and I'm kidnapped. It's always a high elf, isn't it? Always a high elf. And this is when the actual main story of the game starts. And it is the main story that I want to talk about because, my God, it is all over the place. It starts off nice enough, granted. I wake up in yet another prison, which, talk about repeating plot points, and yet again, I am rescued by a totally fuckable lady named Lyris. We fight our way out of a place that is apparently oblivion, and there's a lot of environmental storytelling going on here. What the fuck? Wow. Cool. Guys holding a door shut, the sounds of shouting and battle coming from the outside. And then we meet the Prophet, a blind old man who shouts exposition and gives us missions.
Greetings, listener. Like you, I am a prisoner in this place. You must rescue me, and I, in turn, must rescue you.
He's one of those men of mystery who can never just come right out and say whatever it is he's trying to say because it makes him more mysterious and fools people into believing that the story has more depth than it really does. And we're tasked with destroying a magical construct called the Sentinel so we can blind Molag Bal to our plan. So we run across the map, head up a mountain, kill some fodder mobs, and then whack the Sentinel.
Well played, friend. Arcase Beard, you are good in a fight.
Yeah. Or maybe they're just really bad in a fight. But we find out that after killing the eyes, Molag Bal can still see us.
Fool, you will never
escape my realm.
And knows we're trying to free his prisoner. So he locks the door and taunts us. And this game does this a lot, okay? It'll say that one thing is gonna happen if you do X, Y, and Z, and then you find out that that thing doesn't happen, and you start to wonder to yourself, is this supposed to be this way, or is it a plot hole, and ZeniMax just forgot to plug up the hole? You know what I mean? You'll be thinking this a lot in this game. So we have to recruit the help of someone who's the best voice actor in the game, or at least the voice actor with the most character in his voice, and that's Cadwell. And you might think, ah, cool, we get to go on a journey to find... No, he's just behind this door that you were going to go into. Convenient, is it not?
Tell you what, I happen to know another way in. Much more of a scenic route. Rather a fun little jaunt, actually, full of traps and corpses and nasty beasties filling up the bits in between.
So, with the help of Cadwell, we managed to find yet another entrance to the prison through a series of tunnels, and it's here that we get our first chance, honestly, to use our lockpicking ability, and the mini-game that accompanies it. And I have to say, I really like this version of the mini-game. It's more involved than the simple Skyrim version, and a little easier than the Oblivion minigame. It lies just perfectly in the middle of too much and too little engagement, and ends up feeling just right. So we head inside, kill a bunch more fodder enemies, dodge some traps, and we finally meet the Prophet face to face. Now, this is where I start to have big problems. See, Lyris says this.
There's a trick to opening the cell. The only way for a prisoner to leave is for another living soul to take their place. I need to swap places with the Prophet.
What? Okay, so what you're saying to me is Molag Bal, the Daedric Prince of the R word. You know which R word I'm talking about. The no-no word that YouTube won't let me say. Anyway, he's quite proud of his title. In fact, it was his wandering dick that caused vampirism in the Elder Scrolls. That's right, vampirism is a sexually transmitted disease. So anyway, in ESO he's called the Prince of Schemes, which is the first time that I've ever heard him called that, and apparently he's so good at scheming that he can tell what you're gonna do before you do it. At least that's what they say. So this guy, who has all this foresight, was stupid enough to build a prison so weak that all you need to do is switch the bodies in it to open the lock. That is the dumbest shit that I have ever heard. Why would you design a lock to keep a specific person in a place?
You've been examined.
And have the key to that lock be the body of a person that you don't have any interest in keeping? All right, this is just the start of this kind of shit, but we'll keep going. So anyway, Lyris switches herself with the Prophet, and we fuck off back to the realm of the living. Somehow. I mean, I guess we ride an anchor back to our plane of existence, which is just a fancy way of saying we took a portal, I guess. And the more important bit of info about all this stuff that's going on is that Molag Bal has our soul. And while he has our soul, we can't die. Okay. Doesn't really seem like a problem to me. So, why am I in a hurry to fix this problem again? But before that question can be answered, we have to have a boss battle, and the game makes you think that the boss battle is gonna be super fucking rad, but it is. In fact, very lame. Okay.
Defy me, futile. Soon your world will be in my chains.
Okay. I'm gonna kill this guy, apparently. Oh no, never mind. Wow, that was difficult, man. Look at me. I'm sweating right now.
As I feared, we arrived in different locations. I am in a place with the smell of burning ash on a hot wind, and the sounds of a distant battle.
We jump through the portal and are spit out into two different locations because the game wants us to engage with some side content to pad out that main story runtime. The Prophet even says as much before fucking off.
You must find your own path. But perhaps there is a reason for the place in which you find yourself. Explore, search for a cause to lend your hand. Join with others. You might even seek out those who rescued you from the sea. The choice is yours.
But the choice really isn't yours the first time you play the game, because if you want to continue doing the main story, you have to talk to that lady that fished you out of the water and do some missions for her until it leads you to the town where the Prophet has set up shop. And there are quests that are actually pretty good. At first, it's a pretty typical MMO mission. Find 3 people and ask them to get their asses home for some other task. But later on in the mission, we get to see what this game does best, and that is zone instancing. See, what happens is, after you progress the story here, an attack on the town happens. And because you can evacuate the town, an army shows up and sets fire to the entire place. This happens because you're placed into an instance of the town where no other players who might be in the town at the moment can see. That's how they are able to dynamically change towns due to events or the outcome of a choice that you made. It's one of those things that I was talking about earlier that really sets this game apart from other games in the same genre. The dynamics of the story and the world really help to set it apart from the crowd. Anyway, we ruined the town by letting it burn to the ground and run away like little bitches from an army that we, quite frankly, never see. Well, I guess we technically get to see some of it if you count fodder mobs sprinkled throughout a town as an army. We get on a boat and head to a place called Balfoyen off the coast of Morrowind. It's a colony for former Argonian slaves that live in huts that appear to be made out of mud. And if you wanna, you can buy one of these lovely mud huts for yourself and invite your friends over to pray to whatever god that you believe in, that it never rains. We do a bunch of unrelated to the main story quests, lighting signal fires to warn people that an invasion is coming, and at some point, after grinding out all those missions, you end up on another boat about to head off to another random place, but this time, it's the place you actually wanted to go. Or I should say, the boat drops you off near the place that you want to be, and you eventually, through following waypoints to the next mission, end up in the place that allows you to continue the main story mission. And that's sort of a theme in this game. You don't, as a new player, navigate in an intuitive way. It's a lot like Morrowind in that you're taking boats all over the place, heading to random places and hoping that you're about to go to the place that you need to be, because despite this game having a ton of fast travel points in the form of these way shrines that are dotted all over the map, where you need to go is often confusing, especially when a waypoint marker tells you to go to a dock and take a boat, but doesn't tell you which of the 5 locations the boat travels to is the place that you need to go to finish the mission. It doesn't happen often, but it happened enough that I thought that I might mention it. To top off the frustration, the waypoints for missions do not appear on the continent map view. You have to select a region, zoom down into it, and scan the map for waypoints. And if you don't see the one that you need, you back out and try the next region. If there's a better way to do this, I've never seen it, and I have over 300 hours in this game. Then after I wrote all this, I went online to confirm all this, and there were plenty of posts bitching about the same thing that I'm bitching about. Then one helpful soul posted that if you go into your journal and look at the active quest, you can hit an option to open up the quest on your map. I've spent this many hours in this game and never knew that. And it's a super important feature. Maybe that's my fault, but it feels like, to me, bad UX design. Anyway, eventually I end up at a place
It
called
is.
Stone Falls.
He's
And
right.
waiting for me there at
The
dock
developers
is a
suck
vision
dick.
of the Prophet.
They're really bad. They're really bad at development, most of them.
Only you can see me. Come, we have
They don't care. They don't play their
Prophet
own
tells me
game.
that he's found a safe place for us to discuss our political beliefs without getting spied on by the NSA. So I meet him in the Batcave, and he gives us our first mission, our first real mission in the storyline. We're going to attempt to free Lyris from her prison. But you might be asking yourself, golly, I thought in order to free her, we needed to exchange her for someone else. And you'd be right to ask that, but here's the thing. Molag Bal freed her from her prison so that she could make weapons for his army. So once again, this Daedric Prince of Schemes is going to have his well thought out plans fucked up by a level 13 some dude. This guy sucks at making plans. But before we go to rescue Lyris from a place where she is being likely tortured by a Daedric Prince of sexual assault, it's super important that the Prophet shunts us up into his mind to show us a home movie he's made about his past. We walk through his mind like a museum, and he spends a whole lot of time explaining to us the backstory of the companions and all kinds of other stuff that we, frankly, don't really need to hear, considering the fact that Lyris is likely chained up to a wall with clamps on her nipples connected to car batteries. But I guess she can wait for later. Exposition is far more important, and as much as I complain about this type of storytelling, the way the story is told is kind of nice. You get to see the events play out instead of just being told about it, and it's pretty alright, though I tend to hate exposition dumps because I don't think they're always necessary to tell a story. Then we get to the getting place and Lyris is there just hanging out with a bunch of dudes who just seem to be standing around. I thought these assholes were supposed to be making weapons. Am I to believe that the Prince of Schemes is not only a bad schemer, but also a bad manager?
But you can't
Like
stay.
Todd?
You have
Yeah.
to leave before they find you here.
I would say so.
I'm not leaving without you. We've got such a long and involved history. I just can't do it.
You don't understand. They've done something to me. I can't leave.
You find that G-spot and you're just like, I can't leave now. He's abusive to me and he abuses me mentally and physically, but he knows where my G-spot is. I can't leave him. So Lyris says that her memories have been fragmented and spread throughout the foundry, and we journey through the foundry while she tells us about her daddy. Who
But
never
this is
loved
their
her.
style of storytelling. That's the kind of story they tell. I don't know why.
Childhood home in Skyrim. My parents' graves. My mother died in childhood.
I don't care, Lyris. I don't know. Why am I learning the random history of these fucking people? Why is that important to the overall story of this fucking game? This is what I hate about the story of this game. It's like I'm learning stories about these people I don't fucking care about.
I don't understand.
I mean, that's MMOs.
Free spirit.
That's
Hey,
what
get it?
that's
Free
what they
spirit.
are.
She's a free spirit, get it? That's funny.
Is this true, child?
Oh, he's so cold. So distant.
The asteroid is depleted.
God.
My mother died, giving me
I'm gonna hear about your fucking daddy issues now? Jesus Christ.
should never have been born.
Lyris, look at me. The blood of giants flows through my veins. Your mother was a Nord. I gave her my seed without thought for her safety.
Your mother was a Nord. I gave her my seed.
To me.
I thought you
He shot a load inside her so hard that it blew her fucking brains out. Then we get another memory of a place where people treated her bad and hit her armor like they're a bunch of school children and not, you know, soldiers. And you search around finding all the pieces of her armor, and she suits up and grows a pair magically.
Your
Then we
skill
find
has
her
increased.
axe, and it's at this point that she feels much better, able to take on the world, except for the fact that whenever she hits someone, it barely does damage. Then we come to a vision of a half-naked man who is quickly whisked away. And the question for me is, why? Like, why would the God of Schemes let us know that one of our companions is not only still alive, but he's also being held prisoner here? In what way does that benefit Molag Bal? If we never saw the image of Sai Sahan, we wouldn't know he's alive and in prison there, which means we wouldn't have come up with a plan to break him out, which means we wouldn't have found out where the ring MacGuffin is that leads to the amulet MacGuffin, which ends up being the undoing of the God of Schemes' plans. So why would they have this image of Sai Sahan, not his actual body, but a projection of him in this random room so that we can stumble onto it and realize that the key to our victory is being held in this prison. That makes no friggin' sense. There is no good reason to have this projected image of him in this room other than because we need to find out that he's being held here, and this was the easiest way to show us. There's absolutely no logical reason for the enemy to do this. So why is it here? I don't get it. So we head through the dungeon, come to a portal, and have a boss fight with a not beholder, and head back to the harborage to talk to the prophet. We let him know that Sai Sahan is being held, and the next mission, of course, is to break him free from his prison. But before we could do that, we have to wait for the prophet to catch his breath, because apparently he's wheezing from all that standing around watching us work that he's been doing. So I walk back to town, break down and sell off all the crap that I picked up along the way, and wouldn't you know it, as soon as I get to town, before I even had a chance to enter the gates, the prophet pops up and is like, "Hey, I'm ready now, get your ass over here." And he does this in between every main story mission. He tells you to get out of his house and let him think, only to tell you, "Psych, just kidding, walk all the way back to my cave, LOL.
There you are, Vestige.
God damn it.
We must speak.
No, not gonna do this right now. I'm gonna go do this. Fuck off with your main story bullshit. Then I collect my daily reward while in town, breaking down items at the crafting benches. And I want to take a moment to talk about the daily reward system. On the first week of the daily rewards, you're given loot crates. These loot crates have a small chance to drop things like pets, cosmetics, stuff like that. But what they mostly drop are poisons, potions, and scrolls of experience. The scrolls are great and provide a tangible reward that actually helps you. But the potions and poisons, I don't know if I'm convinced they're worth taking up space in a loot crate with, especially when the loot crates are this expensive. The way I see this situation is like this. A crown crate costs $4 per crate. You are almost guaranteed to have 3 out of your 4 items you receive in a crate be a consumable that will likely just take up space in your inventory, and only 1 chance to get an item that you actually want. And sometimes that 1 chance that you have to get an item you want, that shit can end up just being a duplicate, for which you get a pittance of crown gems for. You know what else you can get for $4? You can get these crafting motifs that are on sale, or you can get a cool mount. Then if you buy a whole pack of these crates, you can get 15 for $40. $40 for 15 chances to get a super low percentage chance to get an item you actually want. As you could tell, I absolutely hate the monetization model of this game. Don't buy loot crates. They're a waste of your money. You know what else you can get for $40? You can get a couple old DLCs or one of the new DLCs. You could get more content to explore, or you can blow your money on a digital equivalent of scratch-off lotto tickets. Don't fall for it, brothers and sisters. It's a scam. Back to the story. So I head back to the prophet, and he sends me back to a town that I literally just came from in search of an agent of the worm cult. The cult that Manamarco is the leader of. Manamarco being the current big bad that we need to deal with. The prophet tells me I need to track down this worm cult member and squeeze him for information, but to find him, I need to talk to 2 different witnesses that will then lead me to an underground base where the agent is hiding. And there's a skill that comes up, for me at least, for the first time. Now sometimes in dialogue, there's an option to persuade or intimidate the character. And it does just what you think it does. It lets you skip certain steps in a quest. And in some rare occasions, actually opens up new options for interacting with NPCs. Like, for instance, using Intimidate to rob a roadside merchant. This is another one of those things that this game does that I haven't seen many other MMOs even attempt. And it's a really great feature. I really like it. So anyway, once I talk to the lizard beggar, a new waypoint opens up that leads me to the underground.
What is the meaning of this interruption? Why have you contacted me? This is Abner Tharn. The Master and I are very busy. This had better be important.
The dialogue options in this game are something else, man. I'll tell you what. They are certainly something. See, in basically 99% of the conversations in this game, you get two options for how to respond to an NPC. You can say goodbye in the middle of the conversation, or you can select the option that moves the dialogue forward, and when it's dumb, like the options above, you don't really have a choice. You have to pick the dumb option, which makes all of the characters you create, regardless of intellectual acuity or disability, seem like the dumbest fucker alive. For some reason, even though we met Abner Doubledeal in Cold Harbor, he doesn't recognize us. Not very good with faces, I guess. And we're forced, through the lack of dialogue options, to pretend that we don't know who he is, even though we know exactly who he is. He's the guy we met in Cold Harbor. Who are you?
How dare you speak to me in such a... Wait. You're not one of ours, are you? Color me intrigued.
Color me
You speak to
intrigued.
Abner Tharn, Overlord of Nibene and Chancellor of the Elder Council.
The Imperial Chancellor? What are you doing here?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you contact me? Fascinating. Are you merely a blundering local, I wonder, or something more?
I'm looking for that guy, Sai Sahan.
Are you indeed? I didn't think that Redguard has-been had a single friend left. Not in this world, at any rate. Let me give you some free advice. Forget about Sai Sahan. Even if I told you where he was, attempting a rescue would be suicidal.
Suicidal, he says, to a guy who just not only escaped Cold Harbor once, but twice, each time breaking a person out of a stupidly designed prison. I think I'm gonna be just fine, okay? Especially with this combat. The NPCs, they say shit like this all the time. They try to up the stakes by talking about missions like they're suicidal, but the game's combat is not challenging. So when they say things like this, it doesn't mean anything to the player. It doesn't get them amped up or excited to play the next mission, which is the obvious goal. It just makes the player want to skip the dialogue. That's why the difficulty of this game sort of lets me down. I want it to be true. I want this to be a suicidal mission. I want boss fights to be difficult and require not just patience out of me, but skill. So I feel like I did something that shouldn't have been possible. Like the NPCs have been telling me this whole time. So when they congratulate me on a job well done, I want it to actually feel like I've earned that praise. So I return the prophet, deliver the orb that I picked up in the underground cave, and he tells me to fuck off again so he can locate Sai Sahan, only to call me before I get to town and tell me to walk all the way back. This guy's getting on my goddamn nerves!
Come to the harborage. We have an unexpected guest who demands your presence.
Okay, bitch. You know, maybe you could have just, like, I don't know, let me do the mission straight up without having me,
Nah.
walk away from the place I need to go to every time? I don't know. Call me crazy, but, that would have been nice. When we get to the harborage, I meet Abner Doubledeal again, and he tells me that he knows the location of Sai Sahan and is willing to help us find him. Apparently, whatever Mana Marco has planned for the world would end in the destruction of not just the Empire, but the entire world of Nirn. And I gotta ask, why are villains in these melodramatic games always interested in destroying the world? I mean, don't you live in the world, motherfucker? Wouldn't that, like, I don't know, destroy you too? But I find out later that Mana Marco has plans to undermine the God of Schemes, and the God of Schemes is too stupid to see it coming. So I head back to Cold Harbor to rescue Sai Sahan, and I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but I've done 4 main story missions, and 3 of those missions have had the same objective. Break a dude out of prison. Except I'm not breaking out Sai Sahan. I need to rescue Abner Tharn first, which means, that's right, 4 out of the 5 missions that I've done will be breaking a guy out of prison. So I go to Cold Harbor, and once again I meet Cadwell. Cadwell is going to help me get into the prison again, but first I need to break him out of captivity. Then this happens. Oh, this guy got some hit points. Look out. I got some hit points. You know what, just to be, like, challenging, I'm gonna use my weapon. Just as a challenge. He can go right through walls, man, that's pretty cool. Good for him. And now he's on the other side of the fucking wall.
Have you
Actually,
seen the befouled water elementals in our
stuck
lake,
in the wall.
adventurer?
Oh no, he's there.
It is a
okay.
sorry sight, but I do
Cool.
not know where they
Very
are coming from.
Wouldn't
Your
be an
name
Elder
has been
Scrolls
mentioned
game
in
without some bugs,
conversations
right?
past.
I see.
Perhaps you could help me with this
Rescue, is it?
problem.
Well, that's a different
The first
kettle of
thing
fish,
we
isn't
must
it?
learn is who is in control
There
of
is a
these elementals.
cistern that drains into the waterway.
Take this divining
The door
scroll.
is
It can
locked,
determine the
but that's
creator
not
of these
stopped me
elementals.
before. Why don't
But
you
you will
meet
need
me
something
there
from
and
them to
we'll see
use as a
what's what?
reagent
So
to
I head
focus
over to the
scrolls magic.
cistern, fight some
Their
fodder
bracers
enemies,
should
and
do
come to
nicely. A
rather
few intact
nice-looking
bracers from the
pool of water.
creatures should
The
be
level
enough.
design of these
The other
places is
bracers will
rather
be useless for our
straightforward. If
purposes,
level
but they
design
may
were
be
a
worth something to a
spectrum,
merchant
at
if you
one
wish
side
to
of the
sell them.
spectrum you've had
Once you have the
Elder
intact
Scrolls
bracers
or
attempt to
Fallout
use the
dungeons.
scroll.
And
Return
somewhere
to me
in
with the
middle,
results,
you'd
and we
have
shall
thief
proceed
games.
from there.
And way down at the other end of the spectrum would be games like Dark Souls. In terms of explorability, there's not much to the Elder Scrolls game's dungeon design. It's usually a linear track through a rather simple dungeon layout, whereas a game like Thief would have many side areas to explore and dangers to brave for the hope of finding some loot to sell. Whereas Dark Souls has whole large expansive levels hidden behind 2 secret walls. So the only thing to really do in an Elder Scrolls Online dungeon is just go in a straight line, turn occasionally, and do the objective. Which I guess sort of simplifies things for your average player, but for your hardcore dungeon crawling enthusiast, there's not much here to discover or see. Which I find
Take this divining
to be
scroll.
rather
It can determine the
disappointing
creator of
in a
these
game with an
elementals.
Elder Scrolls
But you will
name,
need
you know what I
something
mean?
from
'Cause
them to
that's
use
why
as a
I play
reagent to
these
focus
games.
scrolls
So I
magic.
find
Their bracers should do nicely. A few intact bracers from the creatures should be enough. The other bracers will be useless for our purposes, but they may be worth something to a merchant if you wish to sell them. Once you have the intact bracers attempt to use the scroll, return to me with the results, and we shall proceed from there.
The asteroid is depleted.
sets up a series of events that, in a game with difficult combat, would be quite enjoyable. See, Cadwell needs to fiddle around with some pipes and divert steam to open doors, which means I'm going to need to survive a wave of enemies before each door will open. And it's an interesting event that breaks up the monotony of constant enemy murdering and straight line traversal. But because the enemies aren't able to muster a defense against my spammable abilities, the event has no teeth and therefore has no impact. The game is so linear that, well, I'll let this clip speak for itself. Yes, just hit it with a hammer. That'll work. I guess I have to talk to somebody before I can open the fucking door. The game won't even let me skip the useless dialogue between myself and Cadwell. The only point to this dialogue is to find out where Mana Marco and Abner is. But the real reason is because I convinced Cadwell to leave Oblivion and come to Nirn with me. So to make sure all those events happen, the game locks the door and prevents me from making progress until I talk to Cadwell. Not a big deal. It just felt really
What?
strange to have.
Come on, man! The fucking heart wouldn't even tick before he killed me.
I'm met by a vision of Abner. He tells me that
Come on.
that only Atronox can get through the barrier. Luckily, I just so happen to have access to all the fleshy parts I need to make one, and this, like the previous quest, is here to slightly hinder my progress, but more importantly, break up the monotony. And I'm gonna admit that this game does do a good job of that. I was never overly bored by the objectives, I was just more bored of the combat, if anything. After a bunch of fodder enemies lose their life, I finally meet Abner in the flesh. He tells me that Manamarco is supposed to be serving Molag Bal, but instead, he's secretly...
I love how my stealth open and bleed into a fucking ... heal wasn't equal to his turning to me and pressing right click. And that's Blizzard sucking dick and stealing money and fucking people right there in front of your fucking face. Fuck Blizzard. Fuck Blizzard and their fucking asses.
Plotting to use the Amulet of Kings to absorb Molag Bal's power and use it for himself. In other words, replace the Daedric Prince. And wouldn't you know it, just as we're about to escape with this knowledge, Manamarco pops up out of nowhere and ruins the surprise party we had planned for him. I have what could loosely be considered a boss battle. I don't know. None of these big fights ever feel like boss battles. And this same formula for the quests in the main storyline goes on like this for quite a while. Basically what happens is, every time you think you're done with something, Manamarco pops up and says, "Nuh-uh, you're not done yet," and you have a little fight, and then you move on to the next thing. You teleport back, get told to wait by the prophet, walk out, get told to come back, get told by Abner that he does in fact not know where Sai Sahan is, and that we need to go out and find some clues in a place called Knifeir Grotto, which sounds like a racist name for an elf. This requires you to take a boat to another port and walk clear across the map and into a delve, which is like a public dungeon that more closely resembles the single-player dungeons in Skyrim. These maps often have square loops that circle around into itself, about 4 or 5 loops, and at the end of the dungeon, you usually interact with a button that spits you out to the beginning of the delve. So I head in, collect the multiple objective markers, get some exposition, and I have, yet again, I have no idea why these tablets exist. You interact with them.
God damn it.
Image of Sai Sahan.
Fucking mob!
We saw in that
I
room
killed him
way back
too.
at the beginning of the game. And again, why do these things exist? It's like foiling the plans of the big bad by finding his fucking journal. Who the hell keeps a record of a random prisoner? And better yet, why would he record conversations where he didn't get the information he was looking for and then spread them around?
It was cool how I opened on that guy and did him down to 30% before the mob spawned on top of me and confirmed that I would lose that. I killed him, but I still lost it. I still lost it because pop aggro. Pop aggro, dick, in your fucking mouth. That's what the average AAA is. Pop aggro, dick in your fucking mouth. Pop aggro, dick in your fucking mouth. That's the average fucking AAA developer in 2023. Pop aggro in your fucking mouth. Deal with that, bitch. Pop aggro. Big pop aggro dick in your fucking mouth. Pop aggro. Pop aggro. Oh, you're gonna kill that guy? No. Pop aggro. Pop aggro. Remember pop aggro. For 27 years, pop aggro. Fucking dick in your mouth. Pop aggro. Remember the Blizzard dick in your mouth and pop aggro. Don't forget. Don't forget the Blizzard dick in your mouth and pop aggro. Don't forget. Goddamn fucking pop aggro and their bullshit idiocy. I hope they all quit their fucking jobs and kill the AAA. I hope they all do that. Yeah, you guys kind of fucked each other when you pop aggroed each other in the fucking face and came all each other in each other's pop aggro mouths and pop aggro this and pop aggro that. That's all your entire design is pop aggro. It makes me so fucking aggro. So fucking aggro. I'll pop you in your fucking aggro fucking face, piece of shit developer. I'll pop aggro you in your fucking face, you understand me? Pop aggro you in your fucking face, shithead developer. Pop aggro you in your fucking face, piece of shit developer. Fuck you. Dead before I could cast a spell. Great design. Oh, it was yeah, it was 5 people and I didn't know. Sorry, sorry I attacked 5 people. It looked like 2 when I opened up. But no, there's 2 other losers there. Of course. It's the Horde.
Dungeon. Are they for his followers? If so, what benefit do they get by watching and listening to these things, aside from learning about you, the leader of the cult, Manamarco's failures? I know this sounds like a nitpick, but is it really? Is it a nitpick when the idea of the mission you're doing has no logical reason for even existing? The other entry is more like a journal, if anything. It serves no purpose other than to tell us what the big bad has planned. And it reminds me of that trope in movies where the hero's been captured and the main villain proceeds to tell the hero all about his plans and therefore how to foil those plans. Whereas if he had kept his mouth shut, the hero might have had no clue how to stop him. That is this game's version of that. What purpose does this serve to the members of the Worm Cult?
The amulet of the Kings of Glory, an artifact of the divines, a badge of office for the ruling emperors of Cyrodiil, and the key to my sanctity. Yet it eludes me. Exploiting its power to bring about the calamity of our age was intoxicating. It made me aware of the limitless possibilities available to one strong enough and fearless enough to use it to achieve his own ends.
All of the Worm Cult likely know that they're supposed to be looking for the amulet, and that's all they need to know. What purpose does telling peons what your plans beyond finding the amulet are if you run the risk of having your plans exposed to people who are trying to stop you? It's sloppy, and this guy is the one who's trying to outwit the Daedric Prince's schemes. Good fucking luck! The next stone tells us the precise location of Sai-Sahan, and our next mission is to go back to Oblivion to save him. Before we do any of that, I just realized something. These Worm Cult people, they're also Daedra. Daedra, who work for Molag Bal. So why would Manamarco give them tablets that they could watch that would tell them that he fully intends on fucking over?
Oh god, you fucking nerd. I'm gonna get off it, I'm sorry.
It was February 1990. Nintendo of America was about to release one of their biggest games of all time, Super Mario Bros. 3. And the hype was real. Super Mario Bros. 3 came out a year and a half earlier in Japan, and even in a time before internet, North American gamers knew all about it. Throughout 1989, magazines printed previews and teasers. A major Hollywood movie showed off the game. Some stores even sold import or bootleg versions of the game. But Super Mario Bros. 3 was more than just another game in the series. It proved that Nintendo and Super Mario Bros. Were not a fad. And even with competition from other companies, Nintendo was still the king of video games. This is the story of how one game captured the hearts and minds of an entire generation of players. This is the story of Super Mario Bros. 3. By the summer of 1986, Mario Fever had officially hit Japan. Nintendo's Super Mario Bros. For the Famicom was a smash hit, selling more than 3 million copies. The country's best-selling book was Super Mario Bros. The Complete Strategy Guide, which contained tips and tricks on how to beat the game. The Mario Bros. Theme song was given lyrics and released as a single, Go Go Mario. Super Mario Bros. Even shifted Japan's public perception on video games.
Before Super Mario Bros. Came out, even the Parliament had taken up the issue of the influence of video games on children, and newspaper articles were mostly negative. But Mario's bright atmosphere cleared away that prejudice against the Famicom. Hiroshi Imanishi, Nintendo.
The game caused a sales explosion for the Famicom system. By June of 1986, Nintendo had sold more than 6.5 million units. 1 out of every 5 households in Japan had a Famicom. And with Super Mario Bros.' enormous success, a sequel was never in doubt. Super Mario Bros. 2 was released on June 3rd, 1986, less than a year after the original game's debut. Nintendo released the game on the Famicom Disk System, a new add-on for the Famicom that would play games using proprietary discs. They were cheaper to make than standard cartridges, and could hold more data. Nintendo hoped that all their future big releases would be dedicated to the disk system. A sequel to the most popular Famicom game would help drive sales. Super Mario Bros. 2 would become the best-selling game on the disk system, selling more than 2 million units. But players were hungry for more. The game felt more like an expansion pack than a true sequel. Visually, Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 2 were almost identical. It was also an extremely difficult game, which was a turnoff for new players. Nintendo even advertised it as such, slapping a "For Super Players" label on the game's packaging. And players weren't the only ones who wanted a true sequel. Research and Development 4, the team behind the first 2 Super Mario Bros. Games, were ready to provide the Famicom with the ultimate Mario game. So Nintendo got to work. A team of over 10 people at R&D 4 would be responsible for making Super Mario Bros. 3. Their leader was Shigeru Miyamoto. If Mario was Nintendo's Mickey Mouse, Shigeru Miyamoto was Nintendo's Walt Disney. He created Mario back in 1981, and since then had seen his character become the face of the company. Miyamoto took a step back during the development of Super Mario Bros. 2. He had recently become a father and was involved in too many projects. But now he was ready to throw himself completely into a sequel. He would oversee almost every aspect of the creation of Super Mario Bros. 3. Miyamoto's right-hand man, Takashi Tezuka, was named the game's director. Tezuka joined Nintendo 2 years earlier at the age of 24, and was instrumental in the design and development of Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda. Following that, Tezuka was given his first director job on Super Mario Bros. 2. His work on that game, while facing a tight deadline, proved he was more than capable of doing the job. But Super Mario Bros. 3 would prove to be a challenge. Toshihiko Nakago was the main programmer. He began his career at Nintendo in 1983 by porting arcade games to the Famicom. Nakago proved invaluable when he helped Miyamoto and Tezuka bring their ideas to life by programming The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Bros. Working alone as the composer was Koji Kondo. Before Kondo arrived at Nintendo in 1984, music and sound effects were handled by the programmers. Kondo was one of the first members of Nintendo's dedicated music staff. Along with veterans, Research and Development 4 had a group of young designers and programmers eager to prove their value. Among them was Kensuke Tanabe, a new hire who not only had to design levels for Super Mario Bros. 3, but was also directing his own game, Yume Kojo, Doki Doki Panic. Kazuaki Morita, a programming whiz who helped program Super Mario Bros. At the age of 19. Katsuya Eguchi, a graphic artist whose talent caught the eye of Miyamoto. He was brought on as a level designer. And Hideki Kono, a designer who had dreamed of working at Nintendo ever since he started playing Famicom games. With his team assembled, Miyamoto could begin production on his ultimate Mario game. But making this new game would require a lot of power. Luckily, it was available. Although Super Mario Bros. 2 was released on the Famicom Disk System, new advancements in cartridge technology quickly made the disk system obsolete. Chip prices were coming down, and storage capabilities were increasing. Internally, Nintendo developed MMC chips, multi-memory controllers, which greatly expanded
Well, I
the
dinged
Famicom's
25.
capabilities. Developers made games never before.
I dinged 25, which is cool. I'm just gonna get out of here now, since I don't have to be here anymore. 6 gold. Not bad. I did pretty well. And now I worry about agility gear, and I respec. And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna respec. I'm gonna respec to Feral. Oh yeah, look at all that gold. 626, 630. Oh yeah, this thing. I gotta go see this person.
I supply only the finest goods.
Hells yeah. So now I go respec, and I completely changed my gear to agility, but that's fun, you know? No problem there. I think I'm done here on EvE. Been playing for 12 hours. Gonna dock up. Been focusing on. Oh wait, no, wait, no, wait, no. Stop. Yep, there we go. And now we're gonna dock up. We're gonna dock up.
Warp drive active.
Wait, or yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, we're gonna dock up. Yeah.
Warp drive active.
Tomorrow the event will be over, but at least I got like a lot of shit done today. I'm gonna play a more contact sport like Overwatch now, cause PvE fucking bores the fuck out of me, and Rust is coming tomorrow. That'll be fun.
Docking permission requested.
Hello.
Docking request accepted.
Yep, doing pretty well with that. And so now I'm gonna respec, and I don't know. I think I can respec fairly cheaply. I think it's like a gold. I'm going to respec for Feral now that I've hit 25. Yep, and I'm going to go through to Omen of Clarity and Fearer. And I'm just going to run HOTS and, yep, and I'm going to free cast stuff on them, but it's going to take some time to learn the spec. But, yeah, I'm going to do pretty well, I think. Here, I need a respec.
Welcome, my sister. If you're here to train, then I would be delighted to train you. There will be a time soon where the call of the Emerald Dream will take hold in you. You will hibernate for many years and walk amongst the purest of forms. It is there and then that your ultimate training will take place.
Yeah, like, how do you respec?
Welcome, my sister. If you're here to train, then I would be delighted to train you. There will be a time soon where the call of the Emerald Dream will take hold in you. You will hibernate for many years and walk amongst the purest of forms. It is there and then that your ultimate training will take place. Welcome, my sister. If you're here to train, then I would be delighted to train you. There will be a time soon where the call of the Emerald Dream will take hold in you. You will hibernate for many years and walk amongst the purest of forms. It is there and then that your ultimate training will take place.
Oh, I have to go to Darnassus. Okay. That's okay. At least I understand now. I didn't know your stupid, weird, cyclical thinking. I didn't make your idea, you know? Sorry. Now I've got to buy agility gear with all 6 of this gold, but that'll be fun. Just like respecking agility. And on top of it, I do have some agility on waist. I have some agility on some of the stuff I'm wearing.
Would you like a flight to Ruttheron Village, courtesy
Yes,
of
I
the
would.
Cenarian Circle?
Okay, we're going to get off this game. This game's great, but there's no rested on this game. And I just hit 25, so that's always good. I'm going to get on... I got 43. Right, I spent about a quarter of my day joining a new corp and everything. And here's 41 special edition scratch tickets. And I want some money. Oh, I started doing these early though. Actually. Yeah, I'll deal with them tomorrow. I think I'm done with this game for now. Finish. Yep. Makes sense to me. They just didn't bother fixing it. That's Blizzard to me. They just didn't bother fixing it. Thank you, Nick Johnson, for the excellent content for my stream. I've liked and sub to your channel. I'm gonna go use the restroom and then play some Overwatch. I'll be right back.
What's happening here?
You know what it is. It's the death of America, bitch.
What is happening here? This is downtown Austin, Texas. Quite a place to begin a road trip. Kind of depressing place to begin, but here we are. If you haven't been paying attention, Austin was the MVP of our big cities for a long time. Everyone wanted to come here. Companies, families, druggies, bums. Well, they came all right. I'd heard about how the cracks were starting here. Suddenly, Austin maybe wasn't so wonderful anymore. And I was like, you know what? What a perfect place to begin a road trip in Texas. I like hearing about how places change. And you guys like to watch bad stuff. Sounded like a good jumping off point to me. We landed in Austin in the last week of October of 2023. We spent a month driving around the state to see how places have changed. We saw stories of growth and retraction and experienced a lot of today's Texas. And my favorite part was we got to see a lot of old Texas too. Well, howdy. I guess you're happy to see me again. Last time we met, I was in Idaho. Well, hell, this is a lot different than that. Right now, we're in Austin, Texas, mister. This is the first stop on a long trip through the biggest state. Hell, the best state. We're gonna saddle up here and visit every corner of this territory. Right now, we're in the capital of the Lone Star State. But looking around, you could say we ain't even in Texas yet.
Looks like Denver. Looks exactly like downtown Denver. So much so it makes me sick. Yeah, you wasn't just Austin you killed.
That's the big Tesla factory. That building's 10 million square feet. It's 100 football fields big. It's the second biggest building in the world. Bigger than every building on Earth, except the Boeing factory in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
It was $770 million just to expand the damn thing. I asked if I could go inside and take a look, and they were like, no. But it's okay. I can see from here that it's a big deal. Look at all the cars out front. They're not Teslas,